Is it wrong to stay in your nonprofit job if your salary is too high? That's a question posed to the ethicist column in the New York Times Magazine, written by Anthony Kwame Appiah, by a woman who has been in the nonprofit world for a long time. She recently moved to a new organization. Her salary doubled based on her experience, and she's finding that it doesn't take a full 40 hours to do her job, although everyone's happy with the job she's doing. And she's wondering, should she quit? Or should she tell management that, in fact, they could probably get away with hiring somebody who's less experienced for a lower salary and get the same results? So the answer in my mind is no. She should not feel guilty. She should not tell management to hire somebody for less money. She should collect her salary. Now, if she wants to, she could say, hey, I have more bandwidth. I can take on more projects. If her salary is more than what she needs for her savings, bills, goals, she might decide to donate some of it. That's fine if she wants to. She should not feel bad about earning what she sees as a high salary in the nonprofit world. And this story really struck me because I've been in the nonprofit world, in the private sector, and that's something you'd never ever hear in the private sector, I don't think. Like, oh no, I'm getting paid too much. What does that do for my company and my management? There's this perception or this sense that the politics of management and labor somehow take a break in the nonprofit world, and they don't. Even if you're in the nonprofit world, you believe in the mission, you like what you're doing, you should not just ask for as much as you can, you should demand a fair, dignified wage. And if your nonprofit's not willing to give it to you, that's one thing. If they really can't, if they just don't have the money to pay you what they should be paying you, they either A, should not exist, or B, shouldn't be hiring people. Okay, maybe there's a nonprofit that somebody founded because they have some free time and some money on their hands and it's their passion project, like fine, but then don't hire people if you can't pay them a decent wage. And so one reason I think why nonprofit salaries are lower, generally speaking, than the private sector, yeah, part of it is people are willing to make less money because they believe in the mission, they like the work. That is part of it. I think the bigger part, though, is just a lack of leverage. I think the market doesn't tend to value these kind of skills as much as other skills. And by the way, that's a problem with the market. That's not your fault if you're a nonprofit worker. You're doing great. And so I think what's really happening, though, is nonprofits are unwilling to pay people a decent wage. And that's why you're seeing unions start up at like the Audubon Society, the National Women's Law Center. I think that's great because, as a worker, you should be getting what you deserve, and you probably deserve more than what you're getting right now. And, sometimes nonprofits do try to use the mission as kind of a carrot or even a stick to say like, well, I wish I could pay you more, but that would hurt our mission, so we can't. Nicole Daniels, who makes content, and her Instagram handle is Nicole Olive, I'll put it below. Her Nonprofit Boss series is fantastic. You should check it out. It crystallizes this so well, and I love it. And, I think just from a workers' rights standpoint, you as a worker should be dignified. You should demand the salary that you ought to be getting. And let's say you're a funder. Let's say you're thinking about donating to a nonprofit. And let's say you have that kind of antiquated notion that, well, nonprofit workers shouldn't be paid that much because they're doing such a great mission. And because the less we pay them, the more they can go toward the actual impact the organization is trying to achieve. First of all, even if that were true, you shouldn't pay people a non-living or non-dignified wage. You just shouldn't do that. That's not okay. But then if that doesn't convince you, keep in mind, if people are underpaid, they leave. They go to another nonprofit and you have to spend money and time hiring a new person. Or even worse, they leave the sector entirely and they go to the private sector. They work for a corporation. That's very, very common because a lot of nonprofit professionals, they don't feel they can make a decent life for themselves in that sector, and they go elsewhere. And so not only are you losing, one organization's employee, the whole sector is losing somebody who could have made a lifetime of impact in the causes you care about. And that's why, again, as a worker, you should demand everything you can get, absolutely. But as a funder too, as management, as a board, you should feel strongly about paying people a decent wage because it helps you. It helps your organization. It helps your longevity. It helps your community you're serving. It helps everybody. And again, it shouldn't take that. Paying workers a good salary should be enough, but if it's not, paying nonprofit employees what they should be earning is helpful to everybody. The organization, the mission, them, the constituents. It's a win-win situation.